I'd like to call to order this September 16th meeting of the West Windsor Township Council. Okay, have we been adequately noticed?
Yes, on January 11th, 2019, to the Trenton Times and the Princeton Packet.
Then would everybody please join us in salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call?
Jeevers. Manzera. Miller.
Here.
Zhang.
Here.
Okay. We now have a ceremonial matters. Mr. Mayor?
We have a retirement, and we're always sad to see people retire, whether it's humans or dogs in this case. I've let everybody know in the township that as long as I'm mayor, nobody can retire. The New Jersey pension is not accepting any applications, but this one slipped under my radar. So can I invite the chief to do the ceremonies?
Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I promise I'll be brief. Now Doug may not be as brief, but or K9 Sereno. So we're here tonight very briefly to mark the retirement from service, 10 years of service for K9 Sereno. Officer Montgomery will continue on, and he will be working with K9 Mackey. So I just wanted to say a few things real quick, and then I will pass it on to a couple of other individuals. First, let me just thank the Render Safe Task Force for everything they've done for us and allowed us to have these dogs and be part of this wonderful family and wonderful group. Also, Senator Turner and Assemblyman Varelli. I have Carl Weiskopf here, who's representing both of them, who will be speaking in a moment. I have Dr. T here. Dr. T, please stand up, wave. He's with Progressive Veterinary Care in Kingston. Dr. T provides all medical care, all shots, all medications, and he checks all of our dogs and provides it all for free to take care of our canines, just because he's a really nice guy. If I say where he works, Progressive Veterinary Care in Kingston. That wasn't a shameless plug. Lauenburg, Kingston. I'll say it a few more times. Ron Buchanan from Lawrence PD, thank you so much for all your training efforts. Ron is the guy who trains all our dogs. He's also the guy who takes the bites from Sereno all the time and is in the bite suit. So he's a very brave man. It is very painful, I can imagine, and that's why he kind of sits to Sereno's back, because they have a love-hate relationship that they tend to keep. So one of the things I was doing the other day is I was reviewing directives and I was reviewing policies. And when I was doing that, I noticed that there are certain policies that don't cover everything. And when policies aren't covering what these officers have to do every day, because we can't come up with everything that these officers have to do, there needs to be a decision made outside of policy, and it's a judgment call. Now, there's 3 different criteria that come with that. And the first criteria, believe it or not, is the choice above training and judgment is organizational values and mission statement. So the first thing we look for is that officer following our organizational values and our mission statement? That is the primary determiner for something that is outside of policy. And that just tells me that we have courage, we have knowledge, we have integrity. It's on our patch. And because of these officers and their training and their abilities and what they do every single day in this town, I trust everyone here and our dispatchers with my life. And as the chief, I trust them with yours, which says a lot. Every single officer here, including our canine officers. We're not perfect, but I have personally witnessed daily acts of bravery, courage, professionalism, and pure kindness from a police force that is severely undermanned, but comes in every day and gives their best. No matter how few people are working, how many people they have out, and how few people they have on the road, they will give their best for 12 hours every single time they're here. And that is something. It may not seem like it to you, but to me, that is something, because they truly care, and they're truly here to protect and serve. K9 Sereno and Officer Montgomery embody all these traits. Sereno is loved by kids in every school. He's done tours of all the local businesses, and his Instagram page, yes, the dog, not the officer, K9 Sereno's Instagram page has over 10,000 followers. Yeah, I said 10,000. 10,000. I mean, you know, I have like 7, people have like 100. He has 10,000 followers and growing. Wherever he shows up, he of course steals the show. So we could have major events, we could have all kinds of stuff out there. We'll have all the drones, we'll have police cars, shiny lights, all kinds of things. The dog shows up, every single person goes to the dog. So he steals the show constantly. Like I said, no one's perfect. So we've had a few problems. K9 Sereno loves to, basically any male police officer or any male he runs into, he loves to hit you in the crotch with his nose. This is not acceptable in today's day and age, and we've sent him to HR on many occasions. K9 Sereno also doesn't like when you leave the room without his permission. So we had 3 officers that were held administratively in detention because he wouldn't let them leave the room, but he was barking and wanted to bite them. So we sent him back to HR for that. Human Resources sent him back. There was one time, Lieutenant Garrity was taunting K9 Sereno through the back door of the building. So they were separated by a solid door in the back of the building. Well, K9 Sereno decided to jump up on the door and activated the push bar, which then opened the door. So the two of them were face to face for a brief moment before Lieutenant Garrity and his quick moving fast skills decided to shut the door immediately before harm came to him. Both of them were sent to HR that day.
This perpetual.
K9s are a family. They are not a tool or a piece of property. That was old thinking, old language. We found out they are partners, friends, and extremely valuable resources in fighting terrorism and fighting the opioid crisis. Our Sereno and his car were paid for by federal funds. Mackie was also paid for, was actually free. And Hodge was a gift from Leona Hodge. And the car was reused. So our entire K9 program has had no cost from those type of things. We pay for operating expenses for these dogs. Dr. T, as I said before, was it Progressive Veterinary Care in Kingston? I think that, Blauenberg. Yes. You have a website? Yes? Okay, we'll talk about that. Provides the medical care because he truly cares. And this is the type of family that we have. So our goal eventually is to increase our canine presence. So we're looking to put on additional explosive detection dogs and additional dogs for narcotics to fight the opioid crisis. These dogs are out there making a difference every day. They're protecting us at events. You don't even know it's happening. At the Mercer County Park, every event you go to, probably one of our dogs, or one of the dogs from the Render Safe Task Force that you see in the room, has done a sweep, has gone through there, has checked for explosives and made sure that your good time was seamless. Our narcotics dog is out at night, and he's working very hard to get opioids off the street. We're doing our best. Besides working with the care program, we're a 24-hour care facility that anyone who has an opioid addiction can come to us 24 hours. They don't have to be arrested. They can come in, and they can get the care and help they need right from us. So these dogs are making a huge difference. I'm not going to get into K9 Sereno's illustrious history because we have some proclamations that are going to do just that. So I'm not going to waste additional time with that. But we are going to honor him tonight with the Department Medal of Valor for his 10 years of service in dangerous conditions in sniffing out explosives and risking his life every single day he comes in, just because he loves us, he loves Doug, and he loves being part of this family. So if K9 Serna would come front and center on this side, up in front. They're gonna bite me. After 10 years of dedication, I present to K9 Serna the Medal of Valor. So you wear it well in retirement, wear it around the pool. Good job. Good job. Congratulations. I would now like to call up Colonel Weisskopf, who will present the next award. If you can get that.
Thank you, Chief. My name is Carl Weisskopf. I work for Assemblyman Anthony Varelli, and it is with great pleasure that I present on behalf of the entire legislative delegation of the 15th District, Senator Shirley Turner, Assemblywoman Verlina Reynolds-Jackson, and Assemblyman Anthony Varelli, this joint legislative resolution commemorating the years-long tenure of Serno and his service to the West Windsor Police Department. I can only imagine the unbreakable bond that you must share with Serno Officer Montgomery, and I thank the Chief for inviting me here this evening, and I thank the Mayor and members of the Council as well. And I'll just read an excerpt from our joint legislative resolution, which reads, "Through his remarkable capabilities, exceptional bravery, and charming personality, Serno has set a higher caliber of excellence towards which others, both two- and four-legged, might strive. And whereas Serno will be recognized and his many accomplishments recalled during a special meeting on September 16th, 2019, now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and General Assembly of the State of New Jersey that this legislature hereby lauds Serno, pays tribute to his meritorious record of service, fortitude, and commitment, and extends sincere best wishes for a long and happy retirement filled with limitless treats and ear scratches. And be it further resolved that a duly authenticated copy of this resolution signed by the Senate President and the Assembly Speaker and attested by the Senate Secretary and the Assembly Clerk be transmitted to Serno. Thank you.
He had no idea we were coming over. He thought they were just going to say goodbye to the dog. And then when he got outside, I said, this might be just a little bit bigger than I let on to. So it was great. Now I'd like to be honored to have the mayor come up and say a few words. And are we on Facebook Live? No? Facebook Live? No? All right.
As Chief mentioned, there's always a conflict. Certainly there's more followers on Instagram than officer. So I don't know who's going to... Yeah. No, but thanks to Officer Montgomery, who's going to adopt Serno after his retirement, and we are grateful for that. So I have a proclamation for Serno from the Mayor and the Township Council. And I'm going to read all of it. He deserves it after a long service. And as the Chief said, they do in dangerous situations, so we don't have to do that. And that's really appreciated. Whereas in 2005, the West Windsor Township Police Division started their Canal program, and whereas in 2009, Sorno was born in the Republic of Slovakia and was hired as the second canine officer of the township, and whereas his handler officer Douglas Waldemary has served with the division for over 20 years, and whereas in 2010, Sorno attended and graduated from the New Jersey State Police Exposure Schools and continued his training attending the New Jersey State Police Patrol School and graduated in 2011. Whereas Sorno, as part of his career participated along with his handler on Wild Safe initiative in West Windsor Township, checking hundreds of suspicious packages and vehicles in and around Princeton Junction train station. Whereas Sorno and his handler attended dozens of commencement ceremonies, participated in hundreds of canine demonstrations, provided sweeps of many religious houses of worship in and around West Windsor. Whereas during his career, Sorno has apprehended armed robbery, burglary, and shoplifting suspects, as well as tracking and locating suicidal individuals. Whereas Sorno and his handler provided protection sweeps for well-known individuals such as President Bill Clinton, Vice President Joe Biden and his wife Jill Biden, President Barack Obama's daughters Sasha and Maria, New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and Tunisian Prime Minister. And whereas Sorno's crowning moments were playing peekaboo with the Dalai Lama, he told his handler that Sorno had the soul of a young child who wished to play. Whereas Sorno and his handler also assisted in New Jersey State Render Safe Task Force, where he assisted in sweeps of many events, to include the Super Bowl, Miss America pageant, Papal Visit, National Special Olympic Games, United States Women's Open, and Haskell horse races and many other countless events. Now therefore it be resolved by Mayor Hemant Murade and the members of Township Council that Canine Officer Sorno be awarded with the Medal of Valor for his loyal service to the residents of West Windsor Township, and we wish him a well-deserved long retirement with the Waldemary family.
Doug, would you like to say a few words? Only if you keep it short.
No, we have a big agenda to go to. I'd like to thank the mayor and the town council, the chief, all my brothers and sisters in blue, my family, Ron Buchanan, Ewing Police, Red Bank, everyone that is in attendance tonight. This dog has had my back for the last 9.5 years. I've spent more time with him than my wife and kid. He's brought a lot of joy to our family, and made sure that myself and the rest of the police department, the guys that I work with, went home safe at the end of the day. So it's been a great ride, and he's going to enjoy retirement. And I'll pick up where I left off with him with Canine Mackey. So the township is still going to be provided that security, just with a different dog. And like I said, I thank everyone for coming out and supporting Officer Serrano here. It's been a great ride. Good luck.
And he'll be here for autographs after council can go on with their day. Council members, council president, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you. We have to. We're going to take an informal 2-minute break while everybody who is finished can exit the room, and everybody who wants to be here can enter. I mean, I don't want. As far as said informal, please.
I love them all. Say hello to Kiki. Can the people who want to be with the dog stay out, and the people who want to be here stay in, so we can get moving on the rest of our agenda? Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation of a proposed draft plastic bag ban ordinance. And we have people here who've worked very hard on it and who are going to come up and give us a presentation. So would you please come to the podium, give your name and address, and make your presentation. I understand there'll be other people who want to make comments. We'll hear you all.
Sorry, please. Are we not supposed to have, are we not supposed to have public comment before?
We're going to have the presentation before public comment. People will be able to make public comment about this and later about other things. In my experience on the Township Council, when we have an issue that attracts so much people who want to make comments, we always put it towards the front of the agenda rather than in the back.
I thought it was supposed to go in business.
Well, if it were in new business, we would be changing it to here for courtesy to the people who came and didn't want to sit through the rest of the agenda. This has been done many times before. So let's just get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
I followed many distinguished speakers over the years.
Can you please state your name?
Okay, my name is Teresa Warman.
Teresa?
Teresa. Move very close to the mic, otherwise we can't hear you. You have to almost kiss it.
Kiss it.
Sorry, your last name?
It's Terza, Tirza, Warman, Wahrman.
Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
As I was saying, I have followed many distinguished speakers over the years, and this is the first time I'm following a dog. And I just want to say that as a 15-year resident of this town, I know how fabulous our police force is, and I want to take a moment to commend them and Ann Cherno and the other canines that serve our township. I'm here as a member of the Environmental Commission, as an attorney who practices environmental law dating back to my days at the Port Authority back in the early 90s when I was defending the Port Authority on a major environmental action brought by a group called Clean Water Action. So I started in environmental defense, and I've really seen both sides of lots and lots of these issues. As a director of the environmental law section back in January 2018, I actually ran a bar association panel on recycling challenges. And it was then, this is now a year and a half ago, where I learned that China, which had been an end market for many of our products, our trash, our recycled material, was considering closing its market to our trash, a lot of which consists of plastic waste. And at that time, I engaged different members of the bar and also as a member of Clean Water Action New Jersey, brought a woman named Amy Goldsmith to an event. This is in August of now last year, where she introduced the campaign called Reduce, Rethink, Disposable. And her main focus at that time was for the state and for communities to address single-use plastic bags. And then it began. There was activity in the state legislature. There's now been activity across many towns and communities in our state. And there is a proposal at S2776 that, for all intents and purposes, is stuck in the legislature because, and we could spend a lot of time on this, the legislature is in deadlock on a lot of legislative initiatives, including this one. And so the word has gone out to environmental folks like us, call us activists, call us students, call us concerned citizens, that we should be raising the issue of single-use plastic bags in our communities, because we have the authority under municipal local land use law to restrict the use of single-use plastic bags. And some 35 towns, from Hoboken to Parsippany to Asbury Park to Little Silver. I mean, there's a long list of them, and I have them in a folder. They're readily accessible, have already enacted these ordinances. I have worked with the folks at Yanjek, and shout out to Jen Coffey, who's starting her 2-week vacation, but I know that she reached out to our mayor this week and invited him to a conference that's occurring in just a couple of weeks at the County Community College. ANJEC, the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, along with other environmental organizations, is pressing our communities to take action in light of the fact that we have inaction in our state legislature. Now, this may strike you as unusual, but the state's police power to protect the public health and environment is there. It's in the municipal land use law. And I am confident as a lawyer that we have the authority to do this. And I'm happy to engage in conversation with Mr. Herbert. I understand, I just saw today a memo that was done, I guess, back in July. It was the first time I'm seeing it, which raises issues about possible litigation risk. I'm happy to discuss this with him because lots and lots of people have thought about this as one town after another have enacted these ordinances. So I can just grab the draft ordinance that's been distributed. There was a draft ordinance that went out in June of this year, and it received input from various people on both the Environmental Commission and ANZAC and Clean Water Action. The latest draft ordinance is dated September 8th. The most important thing I want to say about it is that it has a series of exceptions to it. So it only applies to single-use plastic bags at the point of sale. Okay, so picture yourself going to the grocery store and getting some groceries, and right now, if you go, say, to McCaffrey's, it will go into a plastic bag unless you say, I brought a reusable bag, or I brought my own bag, or I have 2 arms, I can carry the milk out without a plastic bag. And here's the exception. There are bags provided by operators and by consumers inside retail establishments. So that's for, say you get fruit or vegetables or nuts or grains and you want to put that in a plastic bag inside the store. This ordinance does not cover inside the store plastic bags. It doesn't apply to frozen foods, to meat, to fish, to wrapped flowers, to when you pick up prescription drugs, to newspaper bags, to door hanger bags. So there are a series of exceptions. They're in the ordinance. This is common sense. We know that plastic waste is a problem, and I was part of some heated Facebook exchanges earlier today, and I'm happy to engage in them. The other thing one should know is that this ordinance will not even take effect until May 1 of 2020, which to me seems like a really long time from now. And I can tell you with, the students and residents who are so interested in this, the other piece of what we are proposing requires public awareness and education. And we already have a commitment from Whole Foods to provide some reusable bags, and from our students to help engage in public education about why single-use plastic bags are a bad thing. They're pollutants. They break down very, very slowly in the environment. And most importantly, they are replaceable. Reusable bags now are 99 cents up to Target. And you can see I'm kind of a bag lady. I have lots of different bags. So this is a 99-cent bag from Target. Even a year ago, a typical reusable bag, say at Whole Foods, was $3 or $4, which is a little pricey. And by the way, there's provision for exemptions for small businesses who think that this would be too much to make reusable bags available. You can get them now for 99 cents. And this is actually being driven by the fact that so many of our communities are passing these ordinances. Markets respond in a positive way to government action, and this is a perfect example. And this is the baddie. This is the single-use bag. It's flimsy. It raises our recycling costs. If you walk up and down my block, when recycling material is picked up, people don't realize that single-use bags are not recyclable, and they end up getting caught and stuck in our machinery. And our friend from Manchester, Jen Coffey, said they need to reach injury because there are people who are sorting at those machines, standing by them, and when things get stuck, it raises the risk of injury. So there are many sensible reasons for us to take a very serious look at this plastic bag reduction ordinance. I'm happy to address any of your questions. This is well-trodden territory. New York State is not that much more functional than we are, but at least in the state legislature, they were able to act as a state legislature. I have little faith in our New Jersey state legislature, and that is always, I just do. I mean, we have two sponsors for S2776. They happen to be two Democrats. One of them is Linda Greenstein. I don't believe there are any Republicans who are currently sponsors. Perhaps if we had more of a bipartisan effort, this law would have a chance. But we locally can take action, and I urge you all to consider this and put the ordinance up on the next council meeting on September 30th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this issue? For, against, adding something to what Tirza had said? Please come forward, state your name and your address, and make your comments.
Are we holding them to the 3 minutes, Madam President?
We'll try to make it 3 minutes. Okay? We'll be as kind to them as we have been to other people in the past.
May I start?
Yes, please start.
Can everyone hear me?
No.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Sanika Kulkarni. I'm a high school senior at High School South, and I'm Annika Baldwin, also a senior at High School South. I'm project manager for our environmental club.
My name is Danielle Rivero, and I'm also a high school senior at South.
Do we need an address? Do we need addresses?
We'll get them.
Yes, please. If you could just give your address.
I live in my full address, or just?
Yeah,
27203 Osprey Way, West Windsor.
thank you.
And 203 Salem Court, Apartment 1, Princeton, New Jersey.
2 Spring Hill Drive, Princeton Junction.
Yeah, so I was the one who started the petition, which now has garnered over 832 signatures and counting for the issue of banning single-use plastic bags. Over 400 towns and cities, states, Massachusetts, for example, California, New York, and even countries, India and Canada have addressed the issue of single-use plastic bags, and we're trying to bring this issue to the forefront in West Windsor. I think that conservation is not a spectator sport, and sitting on the sidelines is simply not an option, which is why we have sort of built this grassroots movement. I haven't had a chance to look at the Facebook exchanges that have transpired over the course of 24 hours. I was preparing for my calc test, but I did notice 2 keywords that popped up. One was the issue of recycling. I would like to say that recycling, plastic is technically recyclable in theory, but in practice it's not. And it only makes up 7% of the recycled plastic, and which is virtually meaningless. And the second issue is the issue of businesses and hurting businesses. But we also need to think about the green economy and what opportunities that we can make if we actually curb single-use plastics. Also, we tend to think a lot about economic costs, but we also tend to underestimate environmental costs, which we need to consider and we should have considered it a long time ago, but well, our time is now. Also, since I have some time, I would also like to say that as high schoolers, we are growing more and more conscious of our environment. In fact, we use bottles like this. We sort of ditched plastic bottles, even though that's not in the agenda. I'm also seeing a lot of paper straws and metal straws and glass straws. So, Annika is part of the Green Team and also the Environmental Club. And so our school actually has made a lot of strides when it comes to environmental progress. So I would just like to bring that to the forefront. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. If I could just say, could you get the copy of your petition to our clerk? And may I suggest that you send a copy of your petition to the 15th District representatives in Trenton, that's Senator Shirley Turner and Assembly folks Virginia Reynolds Jackson and Anthony Varelli. I'm sure that they would be glad to see it, and maybe they would be made to do something about it. Thank you. Sorry.
Hi, Shani Lynn, 8 Harrison Lane. I want to pull in the discussion that's happening today and at the Environmental Commission with the recent issue of our newspaper. And I wanted to say that I was heartened to see those letters in the last issue speaking to the need for West Windsor to directly address the problem of single-use plastics. I know that our Environmental Commission has been discussing an ordinance about this. And I know last Thursday I was at that meeting. They approved a resolution urging Town Council to adopt such an ordinance. And there was a packed room of people in support, of residents in support of the ordinance. I'm a mom and a scientist, and I'm grateful that our Environmental Commission has been acting proactively. And I urge our government leaders to follow suit and show the environmental leadership on this issue of plastic overuse. And I join many in our community who embrace sustainability measures like this, which I think are important for future-proofing West Windsor for what's to come. The United Nations Environmental Program published a comprehensive report in 2018 highlighting a global need to reduce our dependency on these single-use plastics. Plastic is one of our greatest inventions, but we have to be judicious about how we use it. And currently, in exchange for a very minor convenience, we are generating a product using fossil fuels that will not biodegrade, that contaminates our environment and poisons our animals. There's also a potential concern for our human health as researchers are studying the impacts of ingesting microplastics, which are the microscopic degradation products of plastic waste. Degradation in quotes, because it doesn't fully degrade. And recycling alone, as has been mentioned, is not the solution to the problem. Other nations have acted boldly to reduce their overuse. Taiwan has passed an ambitious comprehensive ban last year. India also announced a similar comprehensive ban in August. And in the past 5 years, 8 U.S. states have banned, and over 30 New Jersey municipalities, including our nearby neighbor, Hopewell Borough. There are so many different models we can use to begin to curb our plastic overuse, so I hope we will not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. In fact, the language of the ordinance that was discussed at the Environmental Commission uses successful ordinances from across our state as models. It exempts produce bags so we can handle raw meats hygienically. It does not impact the local farmers who sell produce at our West Windsor Farmers Market. And it has a clause for local businesses for exemptions due to hardship. And it also makes allowances to prevent negative impacts on those who are most vulnerable in our community, those who are on public assistance. I think there's a culture shift. The culture shift to consistently bring our own reusable bags may be challenging for some of us in our community, but this action is necessary. We do not need to use these plastics, and we must preserve our limited natural resources for future generations. And as evidenced by the letter written by our high school students, our kids are asking us to demonstrate that we have the will to do the right thing and act for their sakes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is DJ Varner. I lived at 13 Amherst Way since 1986. I'm speaking in support of acting now to pass a township ordinance regarding single-use plastic bags. As somebody who frequently walks, runs, and bicycles in the township, I can attest that plastic litter, including shopping bags, is an endemic problem. I think single-use bags are not really a necessity, and their restriction is a common sense solution. We should not delay local action on the uncertain promise of statewide action. In fact, the cumulative effect of municipal action would most likely provide strong leverage for those fighting for statewide action. And to give some ammunition against people fighting special interest fighting it. I want to thank the Environmental Commission for its objective and thoughtful work on this matter and for providing the council with a draft copy of the ordinance for discussion purposes and bringing it into the public sphere. I think it's very helpful. So until this morning, that would have completed my comments. But I'm going to go into something here. I was a little disappointed this morning, or I should say very disappointed this morning when I saw a Facebook post by our mayor. And I think that the only person I'm aware of bringing politics into this issue is the mayor. So I've seen nothing but interest in promoting the environment and the good of the township and the presiding officer's actions. I think that's very disappointing, and I hope it would stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Even if you say, I agree with Tirza or I agree with the previous speaker, please come up and make yourself heard.
So Kathy Brennan, 1 Courtney Drive. I was a little skeptical about this plastic bag reduction plan. And then I went and listened to Amy Goldsmith from New Jersey Environmental Commission. And I was really quite surprised how practical she was. It wasn't radical or this, cleaning environmentalist. She was very practical, and some things she says works and some things she doesn't. And this happens to be a very good plan. And it's a shame that the legislature, New Jersey legislature, hasn't done something about it, just as long as it's a shame they haven't done anything about affordable housing. But then I went and I looked at our waterways. And West Windsor has great rivers. The Millstone, the Delaware River, the Canal, and the pumping station for the water we drink. It borders West Windsor and Princeton. So our big box stores back up to a water source for us. And I really think that it's a good idea for the environment, for the animals, for our health, that we consider a plastic bag reduction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Sunita Mukherjee, 38 Renfield Drive, Princeton Junction. I'm here to say I am proud that we have an environmental commission that does judicious work, has done its homework to raise the awareness of the litter and the pollution caused by single-use plastic bags. I understand there is a lot of back and forth against and for it, but I do believe that we will need to act now rather than later when it's going to be even worse. We would appreciate it if the town council listens to the residents' voices, because here you have citizens who really want to be heard. So we would appreciate it if you can consider giving us some time to understand why this is such a dire need. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Paul Pitlock. I live at 69 Rainflower Lane. First, I'd like to congratulate Tirza on a fantastic job. We all appreciate you. And to the council, I beseech you to accept science. There are some of us are rejecting science on this, including the mayor. And I beseech the mayor to keep politics out of this very, very important issue. I think it behooves us all to back the resolution, because in the long run, it's going to protect us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I would like to hear from my council people. Do you have something to say? Can I start? Would the mayor like to start? He's eager.
Everybody's taking a shot at me, including my friend Paul. Nice intro.
Right there.
I appreciate people with passion, and this is an issue driven by passion. Sometimes when passion is involved, heart takes over brain and doesn't necessarily lead to best results. I've already made comments about this issue on the internet, and that is not much more to repeat. For the people who say it's science, it's not that straightforward an issue. There are several links that I have posted. Take a look. For the girls, you're right, India just banned it, and that's the proper forum. To me, the best environmental policy is to do everything, use every resource which includes time, money, and resources as efficiently as you can. The way you are going about it, you will be grandmothers before every township adopts this. The issue is, it should be dealt at a much higher level. I've been told that people worked very hard on this issue, and I'm sorry to say that a lot more efforts need to go before even Environmental Commission should have discussed it. I read at the supposed to be the proposed ordinance. First it says, provisions of Borough Code of Borough of Glenrock. Why did the West Windsor Environmental Commission, or for that matter West Windsor Council, talking about a Glenrock ordinance? That's the ordinance copy that the clerk forwarded to me. It talks about a property maintenance man official. Nobody with that title exists in West Windsor. Nobody. It talks about various definitions such as food service establishment, etc., 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 which may or may not match what is in West Windsor Code. For people who claim about politics and who claim about what's the hurry, people who were working on it had consulted the township 3 months ago. Some of these issues could have been resolved. For those who say it's politics, the reverse question is, what's the hurry? The hurry is nothing but the November election. You could fix all these things if the town council was even supposed to consider the ordinance. You could have consulted the township officials. You could have consulted the businesses. I read a list of businesses that Tirza visited. They're all big businesses. Nobody went and spoke to the restaurant. Nobody went and spoke to a small owner. And it's the township's job to go and consult the constituents. How would you feel if I just go and pass an ordinance that affects your daily life without even talking to you? You would be forced here to scream. Somebody was talking about class 3 officers on the internet this morning. So let me just do compare and contrast. The class 3 officer debate happened in school board for at least 3-4 months, at least 3 public meetings with significant number of attendance. Then it came to the town council, at least 3 meetings. Each council member at least had 3 bites of the apple. They got the memorandum of understanding at least 2 or 3 times to make comments. Before the final memorandum of understanding was put on the agenda, the council got at least 2 weeks, if not 3 or 4 weeks, to make comment on that final memorandum of understanding. Now, some people chose not to comment. That's their prerogative. But when you consider that and say that, oh, well, because you voted on class 3 officers, you should vote on this too. It's apples and oranges. Nothing comes close. This was discussed in Environmental Commission for 3 meetings. It passed with 2 votes. 1 person voting no, 1 person abstaining. Out of 7 members, 2 votes. You are saying that 2 people should make a decision for 27,000 residents of West Windsor. And if you question that, you are accused of politics. That is exactly what's wrong with politics today. Okay? I can go on and on. But as Tirza mentioned, our attorney had issued an opinion that the town council really doesn't have the right to pass such an ordinance. And that opinion was shared with EC and both with Allison much before EC vote. Teresa, I'm sorry you didn't get it, but TC chairman got it and Allison got it. I mean, I am very transparent. I want everybody to see everything. If you don't agree with me, be my guest. My life is not affected by that. And that issue by the council, our lawyer, was not issued because I asked him. That opinion was issued by him 3, 4, 5 years ago to the freeholders, well, Mercer County freeholders, who are all Democrats, by the way. So it was issued by 3, 4 years ago. I just remembered because I was having debate with somebody else about the need for having council at each meeting. That's why I just asked him for a copy of that opinion. So that opinion didn't come as a response to this ordinance or as a because of I said so. So whatever, if Allison wants to move forward, she first has to resolve with the attorney whether she has the authority to pass such an ordinance or not, because she took an oath of office to uphold the Constitution of the United States and to uphold the Constitution of State of New Jersey. So anything that is illegal in state of New Jersey, she cannot advocate until she resolves that issue. And finally, a few people commented on what the real issue is. The real issue is an identical ordinance is pending in state Senate. And Senator Sweeney is not moving it forward. And I appreciate your frustration. But my pay grade is not high enough to play referee between Sweeney and Murphy. And I hope West Windsor Council doesn't get in resolving dispute between the two. It is best to go to the New Jersey State Senate and State Assembly, get an ordinance passed for the entire state, and be done with it, rather than going to each town council and putting them in a difficult situation to pass an ordinance that their own attorney says it's illegal. So I'm just going to make that point and leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Virginia, would you like to make a comment?
Can you guys hear me? Thanks. Okay, so going back to the ceremonial matter for earlier this evening, I wanted to comment on that first.
You'll get a chance to make
we're
comments.
having comments later?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This is just about this. Let's get this done and then make comments about that.
So I want to thank the people who came to give their opinion on this proposed ordinance. I do have I have a lot of concerns about our environment. I also carry this with me everywhere. The questions that I have are with regard to some of the studies that have been done, the process by which we enact any kind of an ordinance in town, and getting stakeholders involved so that we can put something together that makes sense for West Windsor and isn't just a cut and paste from somewhere else. So if we were to move forward on that, I would want to go back and fill in those gaps, which are pretty big gaps, to make sure that the process is done right. Because there's a difference between feeling good and doing good. And if you enact legislation that makes you feel good, but ends up ultimately making the situation worse, well, nobody wants that. So we want to make sure that if we do anything and whatever we do, it's something that's going to do good and actually improve the situation rather than just make us feel good. We can pat ourselves in the back and then later we realize that was a mistake and things are actually worse now. So that's what I have to say on that subject. Thank you.
YZ?
Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Teresa, for the presentation. As the liaison to Environmental Commission, I vividly remember the first discussion was conducted, I might be remembering around May or June. In this room, actually, there was a big audience. So I started reporting back about the potential ordinance coming up. Since that time, I think I reported at least 3 times in this public meeting about the progress. So I don't think this is out of the blue from my personal perspective as the liaison. And also, my role as a liaison is not to influence the commission, but have the commission making an independent decision, which I have been doing. So just for the record. But as for my personal opinion, I think I'm supporting this particular ordinance. If you look at, I did some Google search. I mean, it's easy enough nowadays to do any quote unquote research. So out of the 189 countries, 127 countries are doing something or about to do something. So out of from these 127, I think something like 27 had a ban or restriction. Another 27 have tax on the product of all the plastic bags, which is the next step to me. And then the 30 charge consumer fee if you want to use them. So the list goes on and on, but I think this is the trend. I think as the world citizen, we all kind of come to the realization that if we don't act and act quickly, we're going to nowhere. So personally, I support it. I do want to hear public, and I try to talk to as many people as I can. I have not really heard any pushback so far, to be honest. I talk to people on the political spectrum, somewhat to the right, somewhat to the left, many in the middle. I haven't really heard any pushback on this particular issue. I have some scientist friend who may say, you know what, just ban plastic bag doesn't really help. It's only a small percentage of all plastic, and I agree with that. But to me, we have to start from the first step, and this is an important first step in terms of public education, as well as really being practical and move forward one step at a time. Now, if you really want to go back to one of the mayor's point about the Clarksville officer discussion and this, I remember clearly because I was a conflict on that particular issue, to be honest with you, because I could see both sides of the argument, and I heard passionate argument from both sides at the public meetings here, and definitely I don't see that in this particular issue. I haven't, So I want to hear from anyone here in the audience to give me a real reason that you don't think it's a good idea. I want to hear it out, right? And by the way, I usually don't go to Trader Joe's. I usually, I live right behind my cafe. I go to my cafe, Worry Mark. The other day, I have a new residence in town, and she prefers the Trader Joe's for whatever reason, moving from California. And then we went to Trader Joe's. I haven't been there for a long time, and to my surprise, they banned the plastic bag like 3-4 months ago or something. And I was like, whoa, okay, so you made a transition. How is it? And everybody said it was great. And I also saw people using one-time reusable bags more and more. So I think this is the trend. To me, again, I don't see any strong argument against it. Again, bring it on if you have one. Okay, I'll take a challenge to do the research and we can study together. I love study group, by the way. So I think that's what I'm going to say at this point in time. And also, being political or not, it depends on your perspective. I agree with that gentleman to a certain extent. I don't think this is a political issue, but if you really insist this is, everything's a political issue, right? So what is politics? Politics is about relationship. There is a politics in the family. The politics in the workplace and everywhere. But if you look at our spectrum in our town, I think we have a lot more progressive-minded people. So why can't we move forward when the time is right? What is the right time? It is now. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda?
I've done a lot of policy work over the years. I've been up here about 14 years or so. And council usually has process when there's a big concept out there, and I'm not going to get into the pros and cons, but there's something that some people in the community want to do or council members want to do. I used to, as president of the council, schedule work session meetings. We'd have the business meeting and then go into work session meetings where the council can talk about a concept, what we might want to see or not see in a piece of legislation. We may have a draft ordinance to look at, go line by line, word by word, as many of us up here, especially Allison and I, have done many times. And we've taken the time to actually research it. I'm concerned with the process that all of a sudden we've gotten this. This is the first night the council is actually discussing it. It's true that YZ and even myself at one environmental commission did report back, but basically the report is just, there's a discussion on this issue. They're talking to people. The environmental commission is working on it, and that's about it. So for any legislation, it usually just doesn't get placed on the legislators' lap and then said, look at it, and then the next meeting, it's a done deal. I think that I personally, my needs are that this needs to be at least reviewed at some level with the administration. We have hundreds of retail establishments in town. It's not just the food stores, it's other retail stores, clothing stores. We have big box stores, Walmart. And all, I would like to hear from some of them what they think about security and how this is going to work, and what their concerns are. Some of these stores may have some other things that they would like put in or not. I don't know, because we haven't done any work on this. So usually these things can take months once we get it. It's fine that the Environmental Commission worked on it. So thank you, for your efforts. But now comes the council, and we as legislators usually have a certain process. And I want to hear from our health department. If they see any issues, any wording language that they would want to change. We often do this. We did it with the vaping when that became an issue months ago. That you talk about health, emergency issues. Well, I don't even know if we'd be allowed to say we're not selling any vaping products in West Windsor, because there's people who are going to the hospitals. There are emergency situations. Some people across the country have died. That could be a major health issue too. I'm not so sure about the authority of us to say we can just stop that. Similarly with the plastic bans, I want to hear or have our staff hear or invite people to a meeting so that we can hear directly what the concerns are. I also want to know is why haven't these stores already stopped using the plastic? I hear, they're going to do it this summer. They're going to do it in a few months. And I don't know. I'd like to know what their plans are and how they're handling it, and whether that mirrors this ordinance. And I want the feedback from them on this ordinance. That's not like 1 week's work to do. That takes a little time if you want to do a quality ordinance. Second, I do believe we need to pressure the state legislature more on this. They really should be pressured to come up with something. We spend all this money, time and effort, and then there's the education and different things. I have no idea what legal fees. The legal fees. I don't know who's going to do the enforcement on top of.
I have no idea.
Right. So these are issues that, it's not saying that they can't be worked out, but these are issues that have to be discussed before we just say let's go do this. So I think that's kind of where I am right now, is that this process is just going way too fast in terms of information that I would like to hear back. And I know it's political season. I know. I've been there like 20 years, okay? So I get it. But a decision that affects maybe hundreds of businesses in town, I don't think should be made in 1 week. And I want to hear from them.
I would like to thank Tirza and all the members of the Environmental Commission for researching this, for going through this meticulously, and thinking about all the things that could go wrong and that probably wouldn't go wrong, because other towns have done this. But I don't hear enthusiasm for going forward at this point with an ordinance. And I don't feel that we should legislate by being combative. I don't want to put this ordinance on and then find out that it dies. I don't want to put this ordinance on unless we have some of the answers to the questions that I've heard now. Now, me, I love this. I think this has been done so carefully. It takes out all the extras. I think the mayor may have gotten a previous version, because this one says Township of West Windsor, and it's very simple. I think we can do this from what I've read. Unlike Piers, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't say, yes, this is okay. But I can't, without 5 people out here, I can't with a good conscience say, we've got to go forward with this right now. I think we have to go forward with this. I think we have to go forward with this as soon as we can. I think we have to get the answers. This talks about food stores. This doesn't talk about non-food stores. I was surprised that if you're a drugstore, you don't have to go through it. I always bring reusable bags to the drugstore. I think that we have to do some more education of everybody. We have to explain this has to be done. If it's not legal, if it's not required, do it anyway. I would vote for this, but I don't see the enthusiasm here. So I'm going to suggest something else. I don't think that it is futile to ask our people in Trenton to get off their butts and do this. So I suggest that I will write a resolution addressed to our people in Trenton, telling them to get off their butts and enact this. And maybe they would enact this before May 1st, which is when West Windsor's ordinance would take place. And that would save us an awful lot of trouble. So if you would allow me to put that on the agenda, I will do that. And meanwhile, we will not stop getting the questions answered that we need to get answered for this ordinance. As I said, we don't have 5 people here, so I don't know what the enthusiasm would be for this ordinance right now. But thank you, everyone, for what you said, because I think it's a great job, and I would vote for it tomorrow.
Allison, just so you know, this ordinance, and maybe it's other townships too, I'm not sure, but it is Glen Rock's ordinance, almost verbatim, because I looked at it. And there's even some typos here.
This is the one that came with the agenda.
Okay, this says West Windsor, and I know.
The first one was distributed.
Look, the fact is that there may be some typos here, but those could be dealt with.
Yeah, that's kind of stuff.
But we're not going to deal with it today because it's not ready today. And I'm sorry. And do I have permission to tell the state legislature to get off their butts and do something?
Why don't you circulate something?
Well, first I have to do it. First I have to write it, and then you'll see it.
Yeah, they need to understand when they don't act how much trouble that causes at the local level.
Well, that's one of the things
they
that
gotta work with the governor.
I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying act.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell them to act with the governor.
Well, they pass something and then it goes to the governor vetoes it, it's not strong enough, blah, 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 and it goes nowhere then. So
And that's exactly what we heard today. We heard people saying, I think DJ said, don't let the great be the enemy of the good. And that's what the legislature had to do. Mike, do you want to say something on this?
I just have a couple of concerns.
Microphone.
I apologize.
Or can you make it really quick?
I'll go very quickly. My firm represented Princeton years ago. We had a anti-smoking ordinance that was passed. We had told the town that there is the issue of it being preempted by state law. We passed it anyway. $50,000 worth of litigation later, the ordinance was thrown out. I've had some experience with this in other towns as well. You heard the mayor talking about my experience advising the county. I'm looking at the ordinance that's proposed. It talks about putting a 10 cents per bag charge that would stay with the store, but requiring the charge. That really is under our taxing powers. And again, we don't have the legal right to require a store to make such a charge. I cited in my memo the Summer versus Teaneck case, which is a Supreme Court case from '69. And in there, it talks about municipalities are limited to matters of local concern with regard to their police powers. They do not extend to matters that involving state policy or the realm of general public interest in applicability. And the needs of such matters are inherently, such matters such that involve the state require a uniform treatment throughout the state. I believe, and look, my daughters have been torturing me on this, that they want the plastic ordinance just like these young ladies back here spoke so eloquently about. But again, a municipality, if it is to do something that is local, has to scientifically prove that this is a matter that is causing detriment to the municipality. And then we talk about the Commerce Clause. It's another issue. Again, if you have this charge that puts our businesses at a disadvantage to neighboring municipalities that don't have this ordinance businesses, if you require that plastic bags cannot be, if you outlaw plastic bags, again, it puts these businesses in our municipality at a disadvantage to others, and especially those that are outside the state. So again, like you did, I would urge the state legislature to act on this. We have the New York legislature. They acted upon it after being called upon by the local towns. I also have, I've done some, through my firm's done some research, Scott has done some research. We have some cases rising out of Florida, especially one in Texas, where it talks about that this is a matter that should be regulated by the state, not local municipalities. There, Ms. Wallman, who is an expert in this area, and I admire her, but Ms. Wallman talks about the fact that there hasn't been any state litigation here. Just because there hasn't been state litigation here yet, there may be. Now, it may be that businesses want to be public friendly and they don't want to litigate it as of yet, but they can always get a straw man to do so. And again, I would urge everyone, that has been done very effectively, lobby your businesses to take out the plastic bags to be friendly back to the public.
I would certainly hope that with the education that we can provide, businesses will find it advantageous, not disadvantageous, to ban plastic bags.
And the last thing is, you've got to be careful. This is a laudable goal, but you have to be careful in that there's a slippery slope argument here. I would love to have an electric car someday, but I don't have one now. What if a town decided, because of air pollution that occurs in that town, we want to ban all gas cars?
I see that.
You can really go down a slippery slope.
I think that's reaching. Thank you.
I mean, I always say if I was a king, first thing I would ban is cigarette, and then a lot of other things. And my daughter was arguing with me how externality is very small and government makes money with cigarettes and this, that, and so on. But that's the basic thing.
So anyway, Tirsa, I know you have things to say, but I don't want to get into a dialogue. Could you send your comments to the council?
I can do that, but I won't be using it, Mr. Herbert, and I just have comments.
Okay.
Jack 40:41 -20.
If you could give that again, slow it down for a second. NJAC 40?
40:41A -20.
You're talking about NJSA.
Or is that the NJAC?
I'm sorry, it's
NJSA. Yes, I did read that, and I did incorporate that.
Okay.
For the record, municipalities are broadly.
Just come
It's in my
upstairs and say
Thank
it
you.
quickly,
Yeah.
please.
Municipalities are broad repositories of local police power in terms of the right and power to legislate for the general health, safety, and welfare of their residents. Okay?
Thank
Think
you.
about the amount of plastic bag waste that is picked up when we have cleanup along our rivers in our town. This is a real issue, and I fear tonight, by imploring the state legislature to do what they are deadlocked about, that we're kicking the can down the road. In all due respect, and I'm happy, I did offer to meet with the mayor over the summer. And I know that Linda, and I thank you so much for coming to one of our EC meetings and NYC for being there for several of our meetings. I'm happy to meet. I don't want to see the wheel built. It doesn't have to be. I learned about this from the environmental law section of New Jersey Bar. All these 36 towns that have passed bans and imposed fees on paper bags cannot be all in error, okay? They've all researched this. There's no litigation in New Jersey that we are aware of, and I think that's a strong.
I think we should come and speak to some of those 36 towns and get some information from them. And I think that is where we have to come. I don't want to go back and
It's
forth.
as my
between-
mother used to say, if everyone jumped off a bridge, doesn't mean you jump off the bridge as well.
Well, in this case, I think that many people jumping off the bridge leaves a net underneath, so we'll all be fine.
Can I add two more things?
I really would like to end this, and do you have something really quick? Because if you say something, she'll say something.
I attended twice the cleanup with friends of West Windsor Open Space. So that gentleman's point, there's a lot of plastic on the roadside. And I even got a tick bite. I got because of that cleanup event, I got a disease from the deer tick. But the other point I want to make it, I think, Mike, you are making some good point, but I think it's far-reach to talk about electric car banning, gas car and versus like plastic banning. And the third point is, I think there's some flexibility that we can talk about the ordinance. For example, it started from May 1st and talk about 3 to 6 months grace period for exception. I think those can be discussed and take some our own time schedule to work with the local businesses, extend the education time period to have a more practical, definitely we know that we have a plan that we can finish. So those are the things I think we can talk about. And I support you in terms of the sending a message to the state legislature, but I think these two things can work together because I think it's a grassroots effort from the township that will send a stronger message to the state legislature.
I think that YZ is absolutely right, and that we have to continue to pursue this just as he described. And I think we should be doing that in the next few weeks.
And I think we can feel that passion.
Okay, I would like to take a short break, please. I will.
You okay?
Yes.
Oh, he's not gonna stay for the easy part? I should take 15 minutes, we should be done. So you're not picking that up? Do you have to go? Oh, okay. 10 minutes. Okay. Yes. Well, you just have to take a break when you need one. Zweiji. Please come back. Please come back.
Yeah, I can vote, so you can go ahead. I can vote in you.
Yeah, but we need where I see in Virginia.
They went to the bathroom.
Well, that's where I was.
You can identify as a girl now. I just saw her for that.
Mayor, I have to change from being a Giant fan to a Seahawks fan, right? A great game. Well worth.
Those Giants.
Well worth. Coming home at 11:30 and sleeping for 5 hours. Well worth. You're out of Pittsburgh. I went to see the game. How long was that? 5.5. Not too bad. It's a great stadium. It's a good stadium. Hey, they already voted. on 6 issues. No, it was good game. Now they play New Orleans and the Saints quarterback got injured. They play Saints next week and Drew Brees got injured.
When I see please come up here, where is Virginia? Here is Virginia.
They just voted already. Finished.
Oh, you voted in the meeting over?
Yeah, we couldn't do it, Virginia, because both of you are in the facility. Okay, thank you everyone for being kind to our nether parts. We now have public comment on something that has nothing to do with a plastic bag ordinance. Does anyone want to say something? Please come forward. Sonia's up first.
A couple weeks ago, I actually was leaving Morris Hawk School and I saw a situation that has arisen there. I wanted to make you aware that at Morris Hawk School, at the beginning and end of school day, now that the school footprint has been expanded, the Clarksville Road, the width of Clarksville Road has narrowed significantly. When cars are parked in front of the school on the shoulder lines, which has also been narrowed by quite a bit, blocks the view of oncoming traffic. So when you are dropping your child off or picking your child off and are attempting to exit the school parking lot, you literally have to pull into the lane of oncoming traffic in order to see if there's anything coming. This is during rush hour, so it is an extremely dangerous situation. The traffic division of police department has done a great job of managing the situation since school has started, but they cannot continue to do that indefinitely. I believe that a good solution would be to make the area in front of Morris Hawk a no parking zone during drop-off and pickup times. That way, those parking spots can still be used throughout the day, and in the evening, when there are events involving the whole school and the parent parking lot is insufficient, which never is. But it will significantly reduce the risk to parents during the busiest time of the day. I've also spoken to a resident who lives right across from Morris Hawk, facing Morris Hawk, and she sees this day in and day out for years now, even before the expansion of Morris Hawk has happened. She told me a story where one car actually got into her yard, front yard, maneuvering to get back onto the road. That's a dangerous situation, even before the expansion happened, even before the roads were narrowed and a left-only lane got added in. So I can only see this happening. I just want to see what we can do to stop before something happens. There are children available there who are walking across. The other situation is the entrance of Morris Hawk has moved, and the crosswalk is on the other side where the buses exit. Parents and children sometimes attempt to cross where there's no crosswalk, there's no crossing guard. That's a tough situation there. We need to do something about it. I understand it's a county road, but it's in our town, it's our elementary school. We need to do something to make that area safe for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that the mayor and administration and police will talk to the school and try to make it as safe as possible, and if necessary, talk to the county. Because crosswalks have to be where people cross, and that's the way to make them safe.
Andrea Mandel.
I also spoke to that lady, and it might be a good idea to talk to her too. She probably seen more than anything. Sure. Andrea Mandel, 46 Ellsworth Drive, West Windsor, New Jersey. I'm a member of the Planning Board and I'm Vice Chair of the Environmental Commission, but I'm speaking for myself tonight. On Saturday, we had a second annual National Drive Electric Week event at the Farmers Market. We had about 40 plug-in electric vehicles of 20 different types from many, many manufacturers. I want to make sure to thank my co-captain, Andy Samju, who again did a magnificent job, and he was the one who got the dealers to provide the new Audi e-tron and Jaguar I-Pace that everybody was really impressed with. So as a result of this, I expect to see even greater interest in electric vehicles. I know everybody's probably been seeing Teslas coming back and forth all over the place. People sometimes buy a car and then they take it home in a day or two. They don't want to purchase a charger before they select the vehicle since they don't know what requirements or promotions might be available for a specific car. That brings me to the issue I'd like to see addressed. Under our current system, they might have to wait 2 months before they can charge their own car in their own home. The permit process can be long, and reviewers, in my experience, are not always informed as to the latest technologies. There are other issues where our process or laws may need to be updated in order to help our citizens and our businesses do environmental changes that we all want to see. For instance, at EV parking at Nassau Park is planning to put in some chargers at, I think, near Best Buy and near Dick's. They're planning to put those in, but we don't have any ordinances right now that cover electric vehicle parking, so somebody might take that spot, and presumably the police wouldn't be able to do anything. So that's something we do need to move on. Solar panels in parking lots. We had a planning board, several meetings recently for Carnegie Center, and they required a variance because rows of solar panels were considered as buildings for distance between building rules. So they had to do a variance because solar panels were considered buildings, and that's not what that original law was intended for. What about rules for pervious pavements, stormwater handling, solar panels on people's roofs? We need to make it as easy as possible within safety limits for people to make environmental improvements. What I'm asking for is a formal, organized look at all our various procedures, see where they hinder either people or businesses from making new environmental improvements. Perhaps things like car charges can get fast-tracked if they meet certain published and pre-agreed upon criteria. We can change the definition of buildings to not include rows of overhead panels, make sure people approving the permits and inspectors take regular training in new technologies to both make it easier for environmental improvements and safety. Thank you for your time, and I hope you consider making a formal program to help our citizens and businesses make these environmental improvements.
Sanjir.
Thank you. That sounds like a really good idea for the planning board. Mr. O'Brien, the chair of the planning board, is here. I know that if the planning board came up with certain ordinances that would make those changes that you suggested, if I'm on council, I'd sure vote for it. So I hope that will. I think that's the place to start.
Sanjir, your turn. Sanji, sorry.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about implementing something.
State your name and address,
I'm Sanji
please.
Rajaram, 5 Rushton Court, West Windsor, New Jersey. I actually wanted to talk about implementing something very exciting and very new in West Windsor Township. So I don't know if many are familiar with blockchain and artificial intelligence, but for the folks viewing at home, you probably know blockchain from the popular term Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a currency that uses a technology called blockchain. And I've actually mastered the codes with blockchain and artificial intelligence, JavaScript, and the advanced JavaScript needed to make these implementations. So I wanted to offer the township my hand, and completely for free, in helping make blockchain a reality in West Windsor, and maybe even being used in the township in itself. You can't hack blockchain. It has an algorithm. I'm actually working with a startup right now to put the algorithm in their peer-to-peer network. It's unhackable, essentially. It's 99.9% unhackable. because it's so random that no one can actually, find a pattern in order to hack something. And I know data was a big issue a year ago with something in the township. As far as, like the corruption of data or someone messing around with that stuff, it also has that random game theory algorithm, which makes it very difficult for one person to mess something up, because I can go on hours and hours in explaining the game theory, but just know that it's very secure, it's very advanced, it'll push us into the space age. And in my, the other thing I wanted to talk about was implementing AI into, we have autonomous cars and stuff. And I think we should be looking towards those kind of options, because those are also the future, and it would make our town look really good. I'm very good at the code behind AI, so I could be the consultant, again, completely for free. And you might be wondering, this is a very magnanimous offer. Why is he offering all this stuff for free? Well, it helps me out because, when I do this for a big government, all these private small startups will come to me and say, hey, you're pretty good, so I'll hire you. So this is sort of my little internship I'm trying to get to bigger places. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. And for the folks viewing at home, I actually buy Bitcoin. So if anyone has Bitcoin, you can come to me. I have a license to purchase more than 20,000 Bitcoin, which I got about a few weeks ago. So yeah, I'm Sanjeev Rajaram. I buy Bitcoin, Ethereum too, and Tron. So come to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, Mr. Mayor, I think you should talk to Sanjay about his ideas. And if the mayor and the administration finds that it's advantageous, I'm sure that council will hear about it sooner or later. Anyone else? Okay, administration comments?
One moment.
You're only there?
Madam President.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Public comment? Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Shinny Lin, 8 Harrison Lane. I know that the conversation has been closed about the bag ordinance, but I did want to just, because there was conversation afterwards, and I want to just reply. I've been talking to a lot of residents also at at the bus stop. Did I say, did I say 8 Harrison Lane? I can say it again. And I just want to make clear that at least what I hear isn't necessarily a lack of enthusiasm, but really people who are saying, look, we should have done this yesterday. I think that in every meeting that I've attended as a resident at Environmental Commission, also here, I haven't heard anyone from the residents say that they're against it. And so I think I just want to underscore that for you all as you're making your considerations. So thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, not a whole lot of those people came today and said, I'm for it, and put their name on it, which is what I asked them to do. I hope that in the future years, when we have really important issues, people will not just sit in the audience and clap, that they will come forward and say, I agree with Tirza or whoever, and sit down, because that's getting on the record. Okay, come on.
We're done.
Even when we disagree, and we go back a long time, and I know that we will. And I want to say perhaps there was a miscommunication, but folks on the Environmental Commission did ask for a meeting with you, and I know it's the summer, and I know you have a lot on your plate. And I am prepared to meet offline, and I hope you'll come to the ANJEC meeting, which is going to be at Mercer County Community College, and you'll hear all about the 35 plus towns that have already passed the ordinance. So I hope that we can continue the conversation. I think it's an important one. And with all due respect to council, I don't think there is a litigation risk. I don't think all the towns that signed up would have minimized that. Every town is afraid of litigation. I don't think there is a risk here. And remember, that my early discussions came out of the environmental law section of the New Jersey Bar. So again, happy to meet with the mayor, with our very talented business administrator. I hope we'll see anyone who's interested come to the ANJEC meeting, which is just down the road at Mercer County Community College, to get the perspective of what other towns are doing. And that's coming up on October 3rd. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. I know that we're going to have a lot of discussion about this. It's not dead. It's being discussed. Okay, administration comments?
Yes, Public Works is working in Zone 3 this week, collecting yard debris and leaves, which appear to be falling as we speak. This Saturday is dumpster day, beginning at 8 a.m. at 70 Southfield Road. Public Works employees will be accepting a variety of materials such as metals, bicycles, general discards, and electronics for recycling. Also accepted are gently used textiles, home goods, and unwanted small working electronics. This is a good time of year to do some fall cleaning. The other announcement has to do with document shredding. Document shredding has been so popular that beginning at 10 a.m. this Saturday, the document shredding vehicles will be at a new location. They will not be at Public Works. They will actually be at the Board of Ed building, 321 Village Road East. And the paper shredding event starts at 10 a.m. Both events end at 2 p.m. Then the following Saturday, September 28th, 2019, from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., residents are encouraged to take advantage of the county's household hazardous waste collection event and electronics recycling event. That event will be held at Dempster Fire School, 350 Lawrence Station Road, rain or shine. The hazardous waste materials that will be accepted are aerosol cans, used motor oil, propane gas tanks, pesticides and herbicides, car batteries, paint thinner, oil-based paint, stains and varnishes, gasoline, antifreeze, driveway sealer, insect repellents, mercury, fluorescent, and CFL bulbs. And all types of electronics will be accepted for recycling as well. Both of these events are open to our residents. The other announcement has to do with the county. The county's contractor will begin work this week on Alexander Street bridges in Princeton. They're going to be starting with the utility relocation that is required with those projects. There will be daytime lane closures on Tuesday, September 17th, Wednesday, September 18th, and the daytime closures are from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., and the overnight full closure will be Thursday evening, September 19th.
Excuse me, Marlena, evening starts when?
September 19th.
7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock?
I don't have that information. I can get it. I will speak to the engineer about that.
Thank you.
And I will also find out if this work is weather dependent.
Thank you. I think when the evening starts means a lot to people.
I would hope it's after the rush hour, as well as many other of us. And then the final announcement is that there's going to be a public information center here at the West Windsor Municipal Building, 271 Clarksville Road, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. the project that will be reviewed will be the replacement of the Alexander Road Bridge over the DNR Canal. There will be a second meeting if you cannot attend the Tuesday meeting, Wednesday, September 25th, 2019. That meeting will also be 6 to 8 p.m., but it will be held over at Monument Hall, 1 Monument Drive, Princeton, New Jersey. Those are the announcements I have.
Just for my clarification, when you say the Board of Ed building, is that accessed from Old Village Road, the back of the school?
Is there an available access point? I know that paper shredding events usually are well marked with signage, so I will make sure that Public Works.
What's the address?
321.
It's the same road as the synagogue is on, the same entrance. That's the
Okay.
Board of Ed where the election districts are.
Okay, thanks.
Road east or west?
Yeah,
East.
Old Village, yeah, no, Old Village.
And all of the announcements that I made are under current news on the Township website. It's a lot of information.
Thank you.
I get again good news. So thanks to hard work by Gay soliciting, convincing people to bid for a liquor license, we sold our only available liquor license for $900,000. Unfortunately, I can't pocket the money. We got 2 bids. The higher one was $900,000. Our minimum bid was $700,000. So we did good. Market Fair bought the liquor license. So Market Fair now has 3 liquor licenses. So you can go to West Windsor Market Fair and enjoy your dinner. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Comments, Linda.
I just want to congratulate Cerno, our police dog, is on his retirement. He did a phenomenal job in keeping us safe, and thank the police officers for their training with him. I attended the electric vehicle event at the farmers market this past weekend. Thanks to Andrea Mandel and Andy Sanju for that. It's amazing. The cars over the years, the batteries are, I guess, getting stronger, and you can go maybe hundreds of miles now. So that's good. Very good, sustainable event. I guess Sonia Gallows mentioned about the hawk issue. I hope that some of our police officers are monitoring what's going over in the front of Hawk, because that would be rather serious thing. If people are pulling out, they can't see properly. So whatever is going on over at Hawk, beginning of school, end of school, maybe if we can get some police presence there to sort of monitor and see how things are working now that the footprint of the new addition is up. And also thanks to all of our township staff members involved in the preparations for the 9/11 memorial service. We thank all of our firefighters, our police, and officers for their dedication here. Many of them also serve with other events or crises in other parts of our nation or our state too. So we thank them for their service. And we will never forget all those who most unfortunately perished in the 9/11 terrorist attack. That's it.
Thank you. YC?
So last Friday was the Lunar New Year, not New Year, Moon Festival for people from Far East Asian countries. So that's sort of the second largest cultural holiday from that culture, from that part of the world. The Lunar New Year being the biggest. That's typically around in our calendar, August, September timeframe, but it is August 15th on the lunar calendar, and it's supposed to be the fullest moon of the year to celebrate harvest. And then people typical family members are not necessarily together for that holiday because traditionally they might be harvesting somewhere else, working hard for the family, but they will look at the moon together, eating the moon cake, and virtually unite, reunion with their family members. And so I thought it's a lovely tradition to keep. So I joined some of the local celebrations and just want to share with you. Thank you.
Virginia?
Thank you. I would like to thank Canine.
That one is really giving you.
Is this one working?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'd like to thank Canine Cerno for his 10 years of service to our community. I had the honor of observing these police dogs while they were doing their drills in action. And what these special dogs do with their handlers is really amazing. West Windsor is blessed to have had Cerno and his handler, Officer Doug Montgomery, work so hard for each and every one of us here in West Windsor every day and literally putting their lives on the line for us. So I wish Canine Cerno a happy, healthy retirement, filled with lots of squirrel chasing, and God bless them and all of the rest of our police and other first responders around town. And I wanted to echo Linda's comments about the 9/11 memorial service. It was really a great memorial, and just wanted to extend my thanks to all of our first responders and my sympathies to anyone who lost someone that day. As far as other comments this evening, Ms. Gowis, I thought that was a great idea that you had in terms of with that situation at Hawk. I remember when my kids went there a million years ago, and it was tough to pull out into traffic then. I can only imagine how difficult it is now with the narrowing of that road. So I think that's a great idea and something that we should look into, if the administration can look into, talking to the various parties that have to be involved in that to see what we can do to make that a no parking zone during drop-offs and pickups. And also, thank you for making us aware of that crosswalk issue. I think that's something also that we can have the county, I'm sure they would be happy to go along with those improvements, especially for safety. And Ms. Mandel, thank you for addressing how some of these new technologies are going to be affecting the township with chargers and solar panels and so forth. And I think it's really important that we try to stay on top of these things. We probably can't get ahead of them, but maybe we can at least keep up with them because, things are changing so quickly. But thanks for pointing those things out, because that's something people don't think about until there's an issue that somebody needs to deal with, and then we're sort of behind the game. So thank you for that.
Okay. The 9/11 memorial service was moving as usual, and I thank the mayor for putting it together. And we will never forget the people we lost and the people that everyone else lost, and we're always grateful to the first responders who responded then, and our first responders who keep us safe now. I went to the African American Parent Support Group picnic. It was really a lovely event, and I got to talk to a lot of people. And then I went to the parking authorities food truck event. And if anybody was there, I see Michael smiling. You had to wait more than an hour to get your lobster, and you were waiting more than half an hour at other places. It was mobbed, and they had some very, very good bands. And it was a very successful event. And I was thinking of last year when we were all there in the rain and somebody didn't get there, but this was just magnificent. And the people from the parking authority were ecstatic, and we should be too. And I'm looking forward to next year as well. Gay, do you have anything? Public hearings.
2019-26, an ordinance to establish a salary and wage plan for the Township of West Windsor and provide for the administration thereof. This is non-supervisory. This is for the CWA union you approved last meeting.
Okay, we have a public hearing. Does anyone want to speak on this? Hearing none, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Jeevers?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Consent agenda.
2019 R192, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an easement modification agreement for 7 Stoneleah Drive. 2019 R193, endorsing the application for membership to the New Jersey Firemen's Association for Greg Griffiths. 2019 R194, approving the request for a permit from Mercer County Italian American Festival for a Public Works fire display on September 28th, 2019. Rain date is September 29th, 2019 at Mercer County Park. 2019 R202, authorizing the endorsement of the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Treatment Works approval permit application for Thomas R. Grover Middle School additions and renovations. Business session of August 19th, 2019 is amended, and bills and claims.
Anybody want to take anything off the consent agenda? Hearing none, motion?
So moved.
Second.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Hamilton? I'm sorry, Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Okay, recommendations from administration.
2019 R195, authorizing the business administrator to purchase from CDW Government Sophos anti-malware software for workstations and servers on the municipal network, $22,600. 2019 R196, authorizing the business administrator to purchase from Crown Castle Fiber 5 years of internet access to municipal facilities, $33,600 per year, for a total not to exceed of $168,000. 2019 R197, authorizing the business administrator to execute change order number 1 with Topline Construction Corp. For an increase of 2.66 for quantity adjustments, supplemental items, time extension, and project closeout for the project known as roadway reconstruction for Village Road West and New Village Road Phase 2 for an increase of $30,356.52 for a total not to exceed of $1,170,709.52. 2019 R198, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement with Frankel Benefits as health insurance benefit consultants for $35,000. 2019 R199, authorizing the chief financial officer to increase the agreement with Rodeman Roth LLC as labor attorney by $18,000 for a total not to exceed of $68,000. 2019 R2000, authorizing the mayor and clerk to execute amendment number 1 of the agreement with Spiesel Architectural Group, Inc. to provide architectural services associated with the municipal building renovation for a net increase of $350,750 for a total not to exceed of $359,250. 2019 R201, confirming Market Fair Holdings 2 LLC has been determined to be the pre-qualified bidder for a New Jersey preliminary consumption license to be issued by the Township of West Windsor with a bid of $900,000.
Okay, would anybody like to pull any of this? I don't hear anybody. Is there somebody who wants to make a motion?
Motion to approve 2019 R195 through 2019 R201.
Second.
Jeevers?
Yes.
Manzara?
Yes.
Zhang?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes. Introduction of ordinance.
2019-27, an ordinance to amend and supplement Chapter 148, Article 2, Refuge Collection, Section 148-8, dumpsters on public property of the Code of the Township of West Windsor.
Do I hear a motion to introduce? Do we want to read it?
Motion to
quickly?
introduce.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Jeevers.
Yes.
Manzara.
Yes.
Zhang.
Yes.
Miller. Public
Yes.
hearing will be September 30th, 2019.
Okay. Additional public comment? Hearing none. Council reports. Virginia.
Well, I have nothing this evening. I just, everything I was going to say is a repeat of what other people said. So for the sake of time, I will
not say it.
Not say it.
Thank you. YC.
I do have to report as a environmental commission liaison. I attended the last meeting, which was last Thursday. There were about maybe more than 25 people attended, and they all voiced the support to the ordinance for the single use plastic bag. That's the only thing I attended. Tomorrow I'm going to attend the school board meeting, so I'll be reporting the next time.
Thank you. Linda?
Yeah, no planning board meetings to report on.
Well, the Affordable Housing Committee meeting did take place, and we did have some action. We voted Haven House, which is an organization devoted to caring for young mothers and their children, in accordance with the Princeton Baptist Church, has an arrangement to rehabilitate a building owned by the Princeton Church, and they will house 4 mothers with their children there. However, they need more money to rehabilitate it completely. They asked for $75,000 more on top of their $250,000. Unfortunately, though the Affordable Housing Committee was convinced, the administration could not find the extra money. I hope we will be working with the Princeton Baptist Church and Haven House to help them find their extra money. And the Affordable Housing Committee voted to recommend a change in West Windsor's HVAC program from $8,000 to up to 80% of $10,000, and to include group homes and to include the Elements, which is now just old enough to qualify for helping people who own their own affordable housing to get updated HVAC systems. That's all I have. Administration updates?
I have none.
Mayor?
None.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.